Corporation Board to order at 3:02. If you'll join me in the invocation. Dear Lord, please give us the strength to do your bidding for the best interest of our citizens in this community. Thank you for all the blessings that you bestow constantly on this community and its citizens. Please help those in the Central Texas area who have been adversely affected by the flooding. All those innocent lives have been lost, and all those folks that are still missing, that they're recovered, and all the families associated are able to get through this as best they can. Help us today to make the best decisions for the citizens here in our community as we contemplate our agenda. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go through the pledges. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee,
Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, we'll consider the minutes. I have a couple of items here, one question and one recommendation. Where we talk about the Ms. Banda presenting the financial report. Typically, we have approved that. So I would ask that we go back and look and see if that approval was done in the form of a vote. And if it, I'm guessing that it was not, and if it was not, it's fine. But I'd like to have that revised if indeed we did have a vote there. The next item where it talks about Mr. Boutin gave an update on the investment review. I think what my recollection is that I said I was going to call a meeting so that we could have that. So if we could reflect it where it just says I was going to call a meeting, and I'll get, when we get to that point in the agenda, I'll tell you how I'm going to handle that. When you come down to tabled the American Safety Services, I would like that to, I think what we said was that we want to table it and refer it back to compliance for reevaluation. And I'd like to have that language added to that. So does anyone else have anything in the minutes that they comments or revisions? If not, I would entertain a motion as amended.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Citizen comments on non-agenda items. Any member of the public may address the ODC board regarding any of its agenda items before or during the consideration of the item. Let's start with the contractors' reports. Tom?
Good afternoon. My report is actually going to be short today. I can tell you, looking down the pipe, this will be the last short one for a while, so I'm going to keep it short, so hopefully we can get out of here at a decent time. You mentioned American Safety. We did reach back out to them and inquired some information that was discussed in the previous meeting, and most of that we have received back. I did send them another email. Should get the remaining information probably, hopefully by end of day today, if not tomorrow. And that will go back to compliance. Compliance is scheduled to meet on the 24th. And so we're going to work real hard to get I know there were a few times in the past it has been hard to get a quorum, but we have, including a project you're going to hear today further down the agenda, we're probably going to have potentially 6 applications that compliance will need to consider with regards to presenting to ODC, hopefully by the August board meeting, if no later than September. So things are about to ramp back up for you guys, so you're going to get busy. Did want to mention a few things we're working on. Obviously, you see Project Safe, the top one in my list. That's the one with American Safety. We're getting some additional information from to answer some questions y'all had at your last meeting. Project Thunderstorm, I would like to correct the CapEx on that project. That's been taking the lion's share of our time the last several weeks. They are actually in the process, I believe next week they will close on a piece of property in Ector County that is going to eventually be in excess of $10 billion in capital investment in Ector County. It's a really nice project. It is a data center. We're talking approximately 40 to 50 FTE starting out. Yesterday I had the pleasure of participating in a Zoom call with what is called their hyperscaler, which is one of the largest hyperscalers out of Europe. And so they're pretty excited about Odessa. Things are moving forward. Hopefully we can keep that project on the rails and get it to the goal line within the next, I think we'll probably have something to announce publicly within the next 60 days. And so that's moving forward. Project Whiptail is a similar project, even bigger from a from an employee standpoint. They're talking a data center and manufacturing project in 2 phases, which could ultimately be potentially north of 1,000 FTEs. At one point, the investment looked larger than Project Thunderstorm, but after talking to their hyperscaler yesterday, that I think Thunderstorm is going to be the bigger project from a capital expenditure standpoint. That is moving forward. Project Public House OFS, we actually had a meeting with them today at our office. And our two new team members are here today. Raise your hands. Monica Schauner, I mentioned last month, and also MJ. I certainly don't want to miss Kathy because she's also part of the team. But they got to sit and listen to a meeting with this project, and we started talking about all sorts of degrees of levels of cleanliness with water and chemicals and things of that nature. And I looked over at Monica. I said, "So, what do you think of this conversation?" And she had a really excited look on her face, talking about all these new items. But that's another new project moving fairly fast forward, and we're on that. It would be a company that has an existing presence in Odessa. They are considering, because of their growth needs, moving a location from Midland over to here, part of that is due to some of their customers here as opposed to down the road. And so we're working with them to make that happen. And Project TCP is another one that it kind of went dead on us for a little while, and now it's back. Spoke with them yesterday and got an application from them today. And that will be one of the applications that the Compliance Committee will consider next Thursday. We also, I believe, next Thursday will have 1, if not 2, downtown grant applications. For those, if you don't recall, we discussed when downtown Odessa kind of went away, we took over the application process with regards to the facade and infrastructure grants. At least from my personal standpoint, I think I'm getting close to actually semi-knowing what I'm doing as far as reviewing their applications. And then we'll provide that information with a summary to Compliance Committee for their meeting next week. Actually 2 weeks, the 24th.
That's what I was going to say. I was just
Pardon
getting
me.
my calendar.
Correct. I stand corrected, the 24th. And then another one I'll just mention briefly, we're trying to get over the goal line. They are working with the county, and the county's been great to work with regards to abatement, things of that nature. Project Van Zant, that is a battery storage project. And it would be a fairly significant capital investment in the community. It is not an employer per se, other than vendors and things of that nature. But it is a piece of land that's a green field that probably not much else would fit there, and they figured out how to fit this project there, take up that land, and I would imagine right now it's just probably ag exempted, would you think? So it's not really generating revenue or very much revenue for the county. And they're working on getting that one past the goal line with that one. And then moving forward, you'll see some of the meetings and or meetings with partners and other things we've had this month. Did want to mention, I know David may mention that in his remarks, we did have an Odessa partnership meeting not too long ago. I can't remember if that was mentioned at the last meeting, but that occurred. And then Lone Star Lithium is another one. I know I've mentioned this before for quite some time. We've been talking to them since April 2022. They were on the hot burner, went away, came back, went away. We've even done 2 visits with the governor's office with them in Austin. Now they're back. The problem is when we first talked to them, we had a piece of land that the landowner was willing to incentivize to them 3 years ago. That no longer exists. And so we're trying to keep them in the game and look at other pieces of property that we can get for, as I had to use the word inexpensive. I was going to say cheap, but I don't want to say that. As inexpensive as possible. But unfortunately, they waited too long to really get moving on Odessa, and so that piece of property that we're very interested in is no longer available to them. And it looked like you were about to ask a question.
No.
You weren't? Okay. I misread you. My apologies. And so moving forward, you will not see, I don't think in this one, let me make sure before I speak on that. Well, you have your economic indicators, the last page of our report, and it'll talk about the labor market and things of that nature. You will not see the social media numbers we normally put in our report. Working with our media partners, current media, they're going to tackle that moving forward, and obviously they're very good at that, and so they will report on that from this point moving forward. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just one comment. The resolution for American Safety Services was in our packet last month, and then we just tabled it till this
Correct.
month. I just want to call your attention when you bring it back to us to change out the last page. It's kind of a standard page, but it has Richard Morton as the interim city manager and Dan Jones as city attorney. So before you bring that back.
No, that'll save time. Thank you for letting me know. So, okay. Any others?
Any questions for Tom? Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Christie?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just a couple of highlights from our report. Tom did mention that we're reporting on the social stats. You'll find those in this report. We're also taking a look just to see if there's anything we need to do differently or change. I did meet with the new staff members and the full staff last week. We had a good meeting for a couple of hours just to get them up to speed on what I'm doing and how it affects some of their positions. And then we have planned a half day in August where we're going to do a training session on things like lead forensics and the things like that, just so that Monica and MJ will kind of know a little bit more about those tools. Also on the digital, we did include the quarterly charts again this month in our report. The top pages that are visited, I just wanted to point out, are still the target industry pages. That is a direct result of the advertising that we're doing. That's where we're spending the dollars, and that's where we're getting the traffic. We're still operating at the lower budget levels for our digital placement, and everything's still going really well. So we'll keep it there for now. I expect that to change a little bit, but we're going to hang on to that while we can, while we're still getting good numbers. I mentioned last month the EchoDev 101, and those are really social posts with a little bit of information, and then some articles that we're putting on the website telling the community more about what ODC does. So we'll keep that up to date. We'll keep adding things. If there's anything the board would like to see, we'll include those as well. Also to kind of go, we talked last month about taking a look at past history projects. I know Tom is working on updating the spreadsheet with all of the projects and all of the numbers. So we will be looking at adding that ticker to the website, and also I think we may look at some kind of ad or insert or something that really kind of shows what ODC's done, whether it's from the beginning or a certain time period, and then we'll be working on that next as well. We have several new articles that we're putting on the website just to keep that fresh. And we have one more placement on the AP Wire that I've mentioned because we're getting good exposure. So we have one more. The interviewee for that one was Mark Merritt this time. So we don't have the article back yet, but once I have that, we'll be pushing that out. We're almost done updating collateral with the new logo. We kind of did that in phases just so it wasn't a huge expense all at once. And we've really moved so much to digital materials. There hasn't been that much. So we just have a couple more things and we're almost done there. And one thing that was mentioned, we have another podcast that we talked to Tom about earlier this week. It's a national podcast. So we're working on getting him on that. And then there's another one down the pike that wants to do a workforce segment as well. But I thought Monica might want more than, a week before we put that one out. So those are just a few things in addition to the report, unless there's any questions.
Yeah, I have a couple,
Yeah.
a couple of questions. I'm trying to tie these two together
Sure.
just to better understand. When we talk about it says we sent 2 e-blasts.
Yes.
We're basically trying to identify MJ and Monica to,
Mhm.
to the community, the business community, if you will. It says to approximately 3,000 recipients. So how do you determine who those 3,000 recipients are?
So basically, the economic development staff has kept a list over time that they have had from other newsletters, from the Car Ingham report that goes out from different things, and we have pooled those together, and then we call that from time to time. But it's the list that is already kept at the economic development group, so we're using their list to send that,
Okay.
But what kind of recipients get it?
are on there. So it's a combination. We've got, I can get the full list, and if I leave anything out, let me know. But, no, go ahead.
I can mention to you, there's a lot of things, like she said, combination. When we go to trade shows and we get good qualified leads, we bring them back and have them, like I'll shoot them to Kathy and she'll add them to our chip mail list, or chimp mail list. And then, for instance, anytime I get contact information or any of our team with regards to site selectors and stuff, we put that in there, even if we haven't talked to them because they're in that business. The fact that they could get our Car Ingram report or anything like that, and it just keeps Odessa top of mind. So we're constantly adding to it. The only time we really take off is like if we get a kickback where an individual's no longer with that organization, or maybe we had one time there was a deceased, so we remove them from the list in, but normally we're just continuing to add.
And the
And I would
list,
guess they're probably those companies that are on your BRE list and
Yeah, it's a
there's,
combination of companies locally, people from, there's some European addresses on there that I got from the Select USA meeting in Washington DC, and so literally all of the above.
and that's the big list of everyone that they have. Also, we've done BRE e-blasts from time to time. That's a much smaller list. Those are local businesses in Odessa. Some are chambers, some are not. Just prospects that we've gathered over time. So it's the big list, but we also have segments of that list that we use for other purposes.
okay, so the difference between the e-blast that you're talking about here and then the launching of Eco Dev 101 series,
How are we doing?
yeah.
Okay. The e-blast for these two things, typically, a lot of the e-blasts come from the department. Since Lindsay has stepped out too, we've done a couple of those in the last month. So we did the e-blast this month. And then we'll kind of talk about how that goes from here. EcoDev, we launched on social. We launched that on social and on the website. Now, we haven't done this yet, but the plan is to put a few dollars to that so that people who aren't already on the ODC page or wouldn't be visiting the website, we can get that out there. We have not done that yet, but it started on social.
On the one case, you're pushing information out. The other one, you're making it available for people to grab.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else for?
Then these people that are contacting you on this lead forensic,
Yes.
you're giving that information to the staff so they can
Yes.
follow up.
So when we've had lead forensics for about a year, and what we first did was you'd pull a visitor list, and it has about, in a month's time, you're going to get anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people, of which 20% of those are really the ones we want to focus on. So what my team's been doing is about every 2 weeks to 4 weeks, we're going through those visitors list and we're pulling the ones who spent real time on the website, who actually showed interest, not somebody who just hit the homepage 10 times and was gone. We're trying to get that information to where it is better information that they can use so that they're spending their time better on it. And I think that that's been better. So we're sending like 5 to 7 leads at a time. And that half-day session that we have planned next month is to really dive into that. We've also got a process on, okay, that's great. We have a lead. Now what do we do with it? So does that kind of answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
How long, just out of curiosity, what is the time period that somebody spends on the website that you feel like they're interested?
Typically, and this sounds low, I like to see somebody who's been on there for about 2 minutes, where that seems like not a lot, but with the information we're looking at, a 2-minute visit, if they went on, found the information, we want them to find it fast. I look more at which pages they were visiting and why. Again, if you're just reading it to go to the home page, we don't care. If they were on the construction page and it's a construction company, I care a lot more about that. So part of that is going through all that data just to see what's real and what matters. So, and it has been trial and error. We've kind of been going through trying to figure out what's best on that, but I think we're getting better.
Information on that web page.
So we get it.
Contact them.
They don't even have to leave their information. This software basically pulls it. What I don't have is the name of the person looking. But what I do have is I have the company that looked, how often they looked, if they looked more than once, if they looked 10 times, what their page views. I get their whole history. And then the software also gives us kind of a synopsis of that company, how many employees they have, where they're located, what the NAICS codes are, those kinds of things. So it's a wealth of information. It's just a lot of information. But we don't really have to do anything to get it. Once that software is installed, it's giving it to us. So it's a step above. We used to have Google Analytics on the site. It's a step above that because we can actually drill down to the companies who are looking and what they're looking at.
That's good.
It's a great software. And like I said, we're figuring out how to use it better. So.
Right. All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have the Black Chamber on a quarterly reporting. We do have their information in the board packet. If you've got any questions for Chris, I'm sure he'll answer them.
No.
All right. Otherwise, the Tyler, UTPB, SBDC.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be with you this afternoon. We'll just look at the reports in your packet. I wanted to kind of summarize basically what all happened since I was with you last. We've done about 1,200 counseling sessions, about 875 hours, 13 workshops, 119 attendees. I can go on and on and on. 12 new businesses, 5 of those were in Odessa. 90 new jobs, 33 of those were in Odessa. About 1.5 million in capitalization, and about 840,000 of that was in Odessa. So it's been very, very busy. We used to have a lull through the year, usually after spring break, and then again in the summer. That really no longer exists anymore. It hasn't for a couple of years. I've brought that up before. Some of the businesses that were started by industry, we had a couple of trucking companies, a IT consulting firm, 2 medical clinics, a retail bakery, an equipment leasing, paint contractor, event venue, car wash. So all those are pretty representative of our clients' industries and the type of businesses they're in. I will tell you, medical continues to be our fastest growing segment, primarily from these nurse practitioner clinics and rehabilitation type centers. That's the two parts of that segment that are causing the growth. Oil and gas services, from a client standpoint, is still a significant number, just not as many new ones as there used to be. And that's just reflective of the market right now. So through the last 4 months, we completed the Frost Bank workshop series that we do most every year. We did 6 sessions there. Our best attended workshop in the last few months was our QuickBooks workshop for beginners. That was in April. We had 27 attendees. Because of that, we're going to repeat it, and we're doing one on July 23rd, obviously this month. And I think we'll get similar attendance once again. That's proven to be a very popular one. Later in the year, we're going to add in a QuickBooks course for intermediate. We've not really done one of those in quite some time, and we'll see what kind of attendance we get on that. But I think it's worthwhile to do, because I mean, how many times can you go to the beginner's class, over and over? It doesn't really do you much good. So hopefully we're going to serve those people who have reached a certain level of expertise. Something we're excited about, we are starting the ConocoPhillips UTPB Small Biz Builder program. It starts in Odessa in July. July 23rd will be our first session. It'll be at Odessa College. This is a partnership with ConocoPhillips, UTPB, and the SBDC is a service provider, if you will, for that program. In other words, we're going to be doing the content for the sessions and working with the clients. We're pretty excited about it. We think it'll be a good program. But we've got, I think, 47 people already registered. How many of those actually show up is a different story, as you know. But 47 is a good number to start with. So we feel pretty good about that. If you want, or if you know anybody that wants more information, it's on the ConocoPhillips website. It's ConocoPhillips / ConocoPhillips-small-biz-builder, etc. The usual.
And what are you teaching during
Well,
that?
it's going to be 2 tracks. So this is going to be targeted for people, a certain portion of people who are very, very pre-venture, maybe even just the idea stage. And they're going to go through what's called the Co-Starters program, which is a nationally recognized program, entrepreneurial program for people really working through, okay, I've got these 3 ideas, which one makes the most sense for this market, which one has the long-term benefit, those kind of things. And then the second track, which is the one I will be working with, will be the people who are actually in business, and they really just need some fine-tuning. Maybe they need some financing. Maybe they need different things that we can provide. So that's kind of how it will work. So there will be a graduation. There will be a pitch. It's set up a little differently from some other ones. We're going to invite lenders and people like organizations like People Fund, Lift Fund, etc., to attend and listen to the clients' pitches. There's no guarantee that they will be given any kind of money whatsoever, however. But it'll be a good program, we feel like. It's similar to what's been done in other places, and we're pretty excited about it. So that launches later this month at Odessa College, and that will basically take us through the summer, and then back to the grind.
Tyler?
Yes, sir.
I know many businesses in the area operate shorthanded.
Yes, sir.
From a workforce perspective. Do you get questions with the new businesses or the potential businesses that you work with regarding how am I going to staff?
Yep.
And are you able to help those folks? Do you kind of try to give them a pretty orderly process, or how would you address that if you got those kinds of questions?
Sure, and that's one of the questions that we talk to them about in usually at least our first meeting, if not all our meetings, is, okay, this is great, but we're in West Texas. It's going to be hard to fill some of these positions. And any lender who's going to be looking at this is going to say, okay, great, you want to start this. How are you going to staff it? And we talk to them through some strategies on how to do that. A lot of them, quite frankly, that's why our businesses right now are even smaller than normal. Used to, our average starting business would have 10 employees. Now it's more like 4. And a lot of them are family. And that's how they start. And hopefully grow somewhat over the years, and then they can afford to hopefully get enough money they can bring on extra people. But yeah, that's going to continue to be a major issue for anybody trying to go to a bank, much less just operate.
Great.
So, it's another reason why oil and gas service startups are really tough right now too, because people aren't jumping out all over themselves for that right now. So.
Any questions for Tyler? Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Motran report in the packet. Anybody question there? Kaylee, the financials, and I guess you're gonna report on the audit and the financials?
Yes, that's correct. So I sent the financials out by email, but I also printed them just in case y'all need them, and then I'll.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The audit docs
I got my, did it change from?
No, it did not.
Okay.
I think I have. Sure. Yeah, I've got it.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okey-doke. So, a couple topics of conversation today. We'll start off with just a standard monthly financial report for April. So, like always, we'll just start at the very top. Our local government pools are reporting a total of $74,046,000. Our total assets, the majority, of course, are in those pools, but they're totaling up to $96,570,000. The securities, or the agencies rather, that we purchased are in there, and they are yielding some really good returns on interest. So that's good for us. Moving down to the liabilities, not much changed in the reserve liabilities this month, mostly because we just had one small payment payout, so nothing too big to report there, and then nothing added this month as far as the reserved liabilities go. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
On the prepaid expenses of 17,138 and the accounts payable, those numbers are the same numbers that were on the audit 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Are those
I think
valid
it's
numbers?
it's a cleanup issue that we've identified, and we're trying to sort through kind of the back end of those accounts to see what's not hitting properly.
Okay,
Because yeah, you're right. We've noticed that as well.
okay.
Thank you for that.
And we did pay out 83,000 this
Yes.
month, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll see that on the second page on the P&L. We'll jump to that if nobody has any other questions.
I want to ask a
Yes, sir.
logistical question, I guess,
Okay.
Katie. I know, and some of this is old news, so, don't misunderstand me, but I know that there have been some delays in getting some payments, made over time and everything, and I think that, it looks like to me, is improving. Is there anything that we need to do going forward to continue to improve the turnaround time on some of those payments? Are there things that are beyond your control that are making it difficult for you to turn around a payment? The best example I can think of is the compliance audit. That's holding the thing up, or maybe the grantee is not providing the information necessary to the auditor. But is there anything that you're trying to do going forward to try to expedite those payments that you're having some success with, or that you think you need to do going forward to make it even better?
So I think it's a little bit of everything sprinkled into that issue. The things that are out of our control have improved significantly, and that's due a lot to the Chamber's hard work in communicating with the auditor to make sure that that process, which was primarily where all the holdups were, have been going a lot smoother. So very grateful to them. They do keep us in the loop on all of that communication. So I do see the back and forth, the constant communication there. Once we bring it here for you all to approve, that's a different set of logistics, right? Then in turn, we have to make sure within the finance department that we receive all of the required documentation. So the person requesting the payment is supposed to send us a updated W-9, a signed request for payment letter. We have to track down internally the minutes or the resolution that says to us, this is what the ODC board has approved for payment. We have to make sure that aligns with the request for payment letter. So there's just several boxes that we have to check before we make a payment. I don't think that it necessarily takes that long of a time. Now there are some outlying circumstances, kind of like the one we've been going back and forth with this week, where that was just a whirlwind of logistical nightmares, and I don't think anyone really was at fault. Maybe the
Yeah,
U.S. Postal Service,
well, yeah,
but they're the only ones
and
not
I'm
here that can point the finger at them.
I don't care about fault. I care about the results, just like you
Mm-hmm.
do. So I guess, does the grantee know, at what point do they know what they need to provide in order to get the monkey off their back?
So that communication is primarily done through the Chambers team.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
correct me if I'm.
So,
He's just walking.
Oh, there he
So-
is.
We're talking about making sure the financial pieces are put together.
Yeah,
In
just-
reference to the recent conversation on email regarding the compliance.
yeah, Tom, we're making some progress on expediting these payments and whatnot. She's indicated that your department has been integral in helping to expedite those. My question was, at what point and how does the grantee know what they're supposed to provide so that they're not holding anything up?
Well, I mean, for lack of a better description, it's amazing how a lot of these people don't actually don't actually read their contract. The economic development agreements spell out, when you're supposed to, when it's time to ask for money, how you go about asking for money, and then the process there. Once they get the request, I believe that your office reaches out to Willie Penn, and they get on the clock with the compliance. And so there's a variety of reasons why the checks maybe sometimes aren't in a timely fashion.
But the punch list of things that the grantee has to provide, that's not in the agreement, is it?
So it is. Tom
It
makes
is
a
now?
very good
Okay.
point. It is in the agreement. So
Okay.
when they sign it, they theoretically have a list
Yeah,
of
yeah,
what
yeah,
they
yeah.
need to
Okay.
submit. Do they always read it? Not
Yeah.
necessarily at that point. Who is their primary point of
But you've been helpful in
contact?
reminding them,
Tom's
hey,
team.
this
Yeah.
is what you gotta provide, and,
What they do know or remember is when they think in their head they're supposed to get paid.
yeah.
And so that's when they call our office. And
Okay.
that's why a couple of years ago, we asked to be more involved in the
Right,
process.
right, yeah, and that's worked well. That's worked well.
Because a good one recently was Champion X. The first thing they did is they called me. And so I reached out to Katie's office, and we were able to get everything fixed. And they were pleased enough. I've got a meeting with them on another project later, or actually tomorrow. And so, we're good at that because we're dealing with the
Yeah,
actual people
yeah.
throughout the whole application
Yeah,
process.
I like that, what's happening. I guess my reason for asking this question is I want the board to understand that there has been progress made there, and that we're continually trying to keep from those payments from being bureaucratically held up. And I don't think that's happening, because I have to sign off on every one of those, and I'm committed to not let me be the holdup, that I wait 2 or 3 days to go by there, and I try to do it quickly. And so I think we're making progress there, and I think we ought to be reasonably happy at this point that process is working now, that we made enough changes to expedite those payments. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could elaborate just a little bit, because I wanted to ask this last time, and then we didn't really kind of get off on this, but last time you mentioned Champion X. We have the audit letter for the period of June 1st, 23 to May 31st, 2024, saying that they were in compliance. Whitley Penn issued this May 1st of 2025. That's a year later. And now, this May that has just passed is their last payment time. So we're basically, it took us a year on this to get them payment number 4. And payment number 5 is going to be due, after the audit here. So I guess that's maybe part of your question. But you mentioned Champion X and how happy they are, but how is that? I know we changed auditors. you know, from Weaver to Whitley Penn because it was taking them so long and they really didn't have time. And quite honestly, I don't think Weaver really wanted to do that anyway, you know, because it's just a lot of small jobs. But would that be that, I mean, was Whitley Penn not contacted earlier? Are they running a year behind? I think that's part of the question here. I mean, this is an example of what the question
Of that.
is.
Okay, so we're paying in arrears. So, I guess it's the point at which
The point at which,
their financial information is available for Whitley Penn to audit,
Yep.
right?
yeah, there's a review period that's defined, and so it is in arrears, so they have to basically get to the end of the project and then, well, they're at the end of the project, but get to the end of that period, I mean, and then provide all the data, and sometimes it just takes a while for them to provide everything to Whitley Penn. It's payroll records, it's all the, you know, all the little
I
things
guess
they
I'm
have to
I'm
check.
just trying to understand, as of May 31st, 2024, anytime after that, when the audit's completed, they could get payment number 4. And they didn't get the audit done till May 2025. I'm just trying to figure out, is that because Champion X didn't have their information together? You know, it's different if they're not providing the information than if we just can't get it audited.
If I'm remembering correctly, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a lot of back and forth with Champion X.
There was some back and forth.
Between Whitley Penn and Champion X, just clarifying data, asking questions. Am I wrong in remembering that? I just remember seeing a lot of back and forth.
Yes, there was.
I'm just
I think,
making up what they're-
yeah, but I guess, because I think you're bringing up a good point. I would think there would be at least 60 days after this end before they would even have their financial information generated, right? Probably.
60 at the most, because these are not calendar years. This is just a 12-month period of time.
Right.
And so there should be doing them every 30, maybe 60 days.
Right.
But yeah, certainly not more than 60.
Right.
I guess, do we keep a log of when of the steps? And if we don't, could we, when it's time to pay? You know, like we called them this date, they called us. We called Whitley Penn. Whitley Penn said they weren't ready. I mean, it would be really nice, because this still is a problem. And maybe it's better than it was, but it still is a problem. And it would be nice if we could pinpoint where the problem is.
I think a log would be a good idea. I think that's a good idea.
And then if they
Not gonna hurt anything.
I think we're better equipped at this point now to do what you're talking about. You know, we've involved ourselves in the process now for a couple of years where we used to not be involved. I mean, there was a time when
Yeah.
we didn't even know they were being audited or anything, and now we're part of all the emails and everything, so we know it. I think we've got the capabilities internally now to keep a log and do better tracking on that. And you know, I'll deny I ever said this. Of course, we're in a room with cameras and everything else. Much like Weaver, I'm not for certain that this type of deal is a high priority for Whitley Penn.
And I suspect it's not, because like this, May 31st is right in the heart of the busiest time they have. And this is not really rocket science, what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering if a smaller independent firm like Ron Kirby that just does audits, I mean, somebody like that wouldn't be an option. But I don't know, it's hard to say, because I don't know when Whitley Penn was called. All I know is it's a year late from when it should have been.
I think the additional step of a log would be valuable.
Okay.
I think kind of work on that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's jump back to the P&L. This month, we received $1.552 million, primarily in sales tax, of course. Year to date, we are at $11,626,000, which puts us very, very close to what we budgeted for the whole year of $12.6 million. So of course, we always budget conservatively on, all regards. So no surprises there really that we're so far ahead of the game, but just good news overall. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All of these, I was looking at the expenses. So this period is 7 months. And so most things would be, would be divided by 12 and paid out monthly on our contracts. Maybe not all, but most of them are. And in fact, the administration fee at the city of Odessa is 7 months is the actual year to date. And that's the amount, the $18,281. But the chamber, Motrin, the SBDC, and the Odessa Black Chamber of Commerce, now through these 7 months, they've all been paid 9 months of monthly.
So
why is that?
those are quarterly payments, and we pay at the beginning of the quarter.
Okay.
So we just issued their last payment for the year this week.
Okay.
No more money.
I kept thinking, wow, that doesn't look proportionately right, but they're all
No, it's a good
quarterly.
question. Yes, ma'am. It's all quarterly.
All the money.
So as of now, we're fully paid out on our contracts, but it won't reflect on here on the P&L. Expenses for the month, $556,000, and year to date, $9.4 million. So the fund balance at the end of the year to date is $95,261,889, and of course that doesn't count any of your committed funds. That's just your fund balance in general. Any questions?
This is kind of a crazy question. You may not can answer it.
Okay.
But
Ooh, how fun.
we had the 23 audit,
Yes, ma'am.
and it had like 75,000, just say roughly, in cash.
77 million.
I mean million.
Mhm.
Thank you. Just a few
Just a few
zeros
zeros.
off. 75 million. Okay. And now we have a year and a half later, we have 94 million in cash. And this year, this 7 months, all we've increased would be the 2 million too. So it's like $14 million more that we've got than we had at the audit. And I don't see how we gathered that. I don't know about 2024.
Which 94 are you looking at? What page?
Well, if you look at the audit,
77 million on the audit.
yeah. If you look at the balance sheet, we have $94,038,385 now in cash and investments. If you look at the audit, we had $77,376. And, for this part of that 7 or 8 months, 7 months, we've only increased by $2 million. So that means that we increased by 12 million. And last year, we don't have the audit and I don't have the statements, but does that seem right?
So just from a big picture standpoint, since this time frame of the audit, interest has done very well. Interest has performed well, which has boosted your cash. This year specifically has been a heavy outflow of cash compared to previous because we've got those big infrastructure deals that we've just been paying out in huge lump sums. So does that kind of answer your
Last
question?
year you didn't spend much money.
You're right. And I will thank you for that because also the activity of the board has picked up significantly since this time. So has the frequency at which we pay out because of the improvements we've been making with the auditor and things like that.
Well, I'm just doing that. Does this make sense? If you could, when you have a chance, could you send us out the financials for for September of 2024?
September of 24?
The internal ones. I know we don't
Sure.
have the audit yet, but that would answer my question.
Yes. I sure can.
None of us were
But
on
it's
the
almost
board
2
then.
years later now. That's from the
Yeah,
audit
but
you're
this
looking at.
year, only 2 million
I
of
know,
it
but
happened
but
this year.
it's-
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost 2 years later.
yeah. But that just seems like compared to 2 million this year, 12 million in 24 is a big increase. So if you could just send that out.
I can.
Then And if I can't make that work in my mind, I'll call you before our next meeting, so
Okay.
I don't have to ask you.
No,
this.
ask away, yes. Okay, I can certainly do that. Those
Thank
are
you.
readily available. Any other questions on the P&L before we move on? Okay. The next sheet is just the change in the reserve balances. Just one small payment to Wackerman this time, $83,000. We do have some significant payments that we have paid out since then, so those will appear as we go through the next few months' financials. Total reserve commitments, $22,712,878.
I've got a question on
Yes, sir.
just a deal that I know something about that I
Mhm.
probably shouldn't. But anyway, we've got a long-term commitment to a company on here, and they changed the piece of real estate that they're gonna buy. How long is that commitment stay out here if the real estate that they're buying is not gonna be in the area that we had committed to them? Let's say they went and bought some different real estate because they couldn't make that deal work.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do we leave this on our financials that we have this money committed to them when they didn't follow through on that piece of real estate?
That is a really good question.
Has compliance redone it?
No, I don't know that compliance knows. I just know because I know the company, so I'm just asking the question. I know too much
Yeah.
about the deal.
Well, I think Peggy's right. That's not something that finance would catch, but it is something that compliance maybe would catch. Maybe as the, I don't know if that's something that Whitley Pin checks, is the location of it. I think they're just checking the expenditure. So unless
I mean,
somebody
they haven't asked for
knew,
any money yet because
Well-
they haven't done the deal.
But the agreement, my recollection, the agreement will not only have the expenditure for the real estate, but it will identify the real estate.
okay.
Right.
So it should be caught in the audit.
Well, they haven't done anything yet, but I'm just
Yeah.
And
saying,
it might be called the audit. I think your question is,
does it stay
it's
on here
gonna
as a
lower
commitment? Yeah.
this commitment
Yeah,
probably.
if they say, we don't need this anymore because
Well-
we've done something different.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is, if it's on here, then an agreement's been executed.
Mm-hmm. So only if
They
the,
can't get, we're not gonna reserve these funds unless there's an agreement been executed.
Okay.
correct. And I don't know who the company is, and I don't need to know, but that is correct. If it has been executed, then I mean, there are provisions in the contracts to where both parties can exit. And at that point, once it becomes official and the board has voted, I will take it off the financials.
Okay.
Okay. The next page is just a summary of all of the investments. Like always, you'll see a big difference in that government pool figure between the balance sheet, which is showing lower than the 86 million. And that's just because of those expenses that need to be transferred from ODC tax pool to city tax pool. I just like to touch on that every time in case there's a question on it. Again, benefits you that we haven't done that transfer because you benefit from the interest income in your tax pool account. Total investments here, 105,767,000. Would y'all be interested in seeing like a historical analysis, Peggy, kind of in relation to your question, what you were
Yeah.
asking earlier?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd be interested in knowing how we got $12 million more. I mean, did we just not pay anything out, or did we?
Yeah, that's a big number.
Okay.
That's the
Just to
last-
kind of look at your performance over time, I think that would be good for everyone. Okay. And then the last page is the summary, beginning of month to end of month. Again, started the month 103,830,000, ended with 105,767,000. Like I touched on earlier, your agencies are doing well and will continue to do well. They have pretty lengthy maturity, so we will benefit those for a while, which is good for us. Any questions?
Some of your CDs, I think you need to go in and change the maturities on them. They've already matured. I'm sure that you renewed them, like the First Bank and Trust.
Thank you. That one is, yes, you're right. Thank you so much. And the very last page is the sales tax through the month of June, which is April data. For the year, collected so far 11,617,000, which is significantly higher than what was collected a year ago to date, 10,737,000. So let's hope people keep spending money. It's good for us.
So, how frequently do they pay us?
Who is that?
How frequently do we get this sales tax?
Oh, monthly.
So, how do we have a receivable of $2,442,000?
So the money comes to the city, all of it in a lump sum, and the city goes on the back end, does a journal entry and a transfer from our tax pool to your tax pool, and then a journal entry to move it from our internal cash pool to your internal cash pool.
I'm sorry. I don't.
Okay.
What I really want to know is it looks like there's 2 months in receivables, so we
It
didn't-
does.
So
that's,
we get it, it just hasn't been transferred.
it has, our transfers are up to date, so that's why earlier when I said something's not clicking on the back end, that's what we're trying to figure out, because we do keep up to date with your transfers monthly.
Okay.
It could be an old receivable that is just rolling perhaps. From year to year, we would just have to identify if somewhere along the way you were supposed to get 2.4 million and you haven't, but that's just part of the research that we're doing.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It is. It is. So we're going to track it down for you. Okay, and then we'll just run through the audit.
Okay, before we do that, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report for April as presented.
Move.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the
you.
financial. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now, before you start the audit, I have a question. My recollection is that we used to have a I'm gonna call it a standalone audit for ODC. What we got looks to me like it's the City of Odessa audit and has a component in it for Odessa Development Corporation. Did that change?
That is the activity for,
Yeah, I know, but we used to
get one.
an audit that was basically for the Odessa Development Corporation only. Now, I believe it may have been a part of the activity of doing the audit for the city, and it seems like that we had a budget item that we paid for with regard to the audit cost.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we pay in administrative services, or is it a budget item? Because I can't remember it.
No, it's a separate budget item. So part of Weaver's process is they come in, and a portion of it, they're asking us for ODC invoices, or asking us for the contracts, or asking us for all of these things. And then they bill us for everything together. So maybe historically there's been something separate. I've only seen 22 and 23 audit, and it has been this way, and 24 was going to be the
In the
same.
notes, that section, I think it's section 7 is all ODC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
The notes
yeah,
about
and I
it.
looked at it. But
I remember David Dree came and he bid for our business each year, years ago. And we were. and it
Sort of
was
like
completely
Easy Rider.
separate.
Does Easy Rider still get a separate audit?
Yeah, and so are you thinking maybe of economic development's audit?
No.
No? Separate? I can look into that for you. I'm not familiar historically
Yeah.
with how the audit
I
was
don't know that
presented.
it's a huge deal that you need to spend a lot of time with. I'd rather you find the solution to that $2 million and those are more
2.4.
important issues. But my recollection is that we had, for all practical purposes, a freestanding
Separate
ODC audit.
A separate audit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll find out
So-
for you.
All right.
Okay. So the audit is here on the screen in front of you. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. Like David mentioned, ODC is considered a discrete component unit of the city of Odessa, so that means that it is legally a separate entity, but we are, as a city, financially responsible for ODC. So it's presented as a portion of our overall audit, or potentially not, if David is correct.
Can you scoot it back? You
sure
scooted it,
can.
and now we can't see the column for ODC. There you go.
Let me get rid of this. How's that?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well done.
All right. Another thing that I will point out here as we go through this statement of net position. So the total cash and investments here, and look, there's that receivable amount again, the 2.4. So this has just been on there for a very long time, right? Which is why it's taking us some time and trying to figure out what it is. 77 million, 2.4 million, total assets of about 79 million. I did compare it to our internal financials for this period, and it's pretty spot on. One of the things that we've identified that we're not capturing, if you look down here at the liabilities, none of your agreements are being captured on the audit balance sheet.
Right.
And that is because somebody made a decision long ago within the city that we were not going to internally encumber or reserve your contract agreements. So when I come to you and I present a list of the agreements that you have reserved, I keep track of that manually. The system does not tell me that those are reserved. So that's why when we're looking at the audit, they are not in there as a liability or a reserved commitment. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that practice. I wanted to get your thoughts on it and what you think about that.
Is that gap? It's a commitment.
I mean, it is a commitment, but the commitment on our financial statements is not under the liabilities now. It's down in fund balance that you're showing it. You know, it's not in the liabilities.
Yeah, but it's a
Although it
negative
is
fund balance.
It's,
'Cause it's-
yeah, it reduces the fund balance, and so what these do is the fund balance includes.
But you ought to at least show it as restricted.
Right, and it's not in your restricted
It ought to be
section
restricted
either.
on a fund
Yeah.
balance accounting, shouldn't it?
Well, either that or in the notes, but I mean, if you've got contracts on those two, it looks to me like they should be on there. I wrestled with this trying to track it back and realized it's just not included here.
So we can chat with the auditor and see what he recommends as far as best practice
Well, to me,
goes.
the way it's presented is misleading.
It is,
it
and
oughta-
I can see why the mayor said, you got all this money you're not doing anything with, because he can't see
Yeah.
what we see.
Yep.
And if it's a true audit, it ought to at least be footnoted.
I don't think,
that-
I don't
that
think
there's-
it's
that
in
it's
that
restricted.
7, yeah. I don't think, I went through those notes, I don't remember, we'll see here in a minute. I taped mine together and made all my notes and didn't bring it. But I know it by heart.
There is a section that talks about restricted fund balance, but it doesn't list
It
any.
doesn't
It
say
just
the
kind of
amounts.
defines
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And it does say on the audit that is unrestricted, which really is a misnomer, because that's not true at all.
I agree.
I mean, even if it had a line item of restricted and then
Now, They
unrestricted.
restricted the city's debt service and grants and rate stabilization, but they're not restricting any of our funds.
I don't, to me, well, I don't know that there's a right and wrong, but to me, it's misleading, and to the point that it's probably wrong.
And we
So-
need to be sure the mayor
Well,
understands, so
but-
he
but-
could,
but
you
if
know,
you
because
think-
he
but if
would
you
look
think
at that.
about anybody who is interested in what ODC does for the community, needs to get a true picture. If they're going into the audit to get their information, they need a true picture of what's happening financially, and that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
To me.
So now that I know you agree, I will move forward with calling the auditor and let him know our concerns and our thoughts. Okay.
Good.
And does this get then amended with that information?
What the auditor says, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what you're exactly correct.
Well, and they're working on 2024, so we definitely want, because that's like a whole new the end for a whole new council, so.
Mm-hmm.
Has this audit been presented to the council?
Yes, at a very, very high level.
Okay, did the council take action?
High level, yeah,
So
that
we
looks
didn't tell them
good.
everything.
Did
Have they
the
approved
council
it
take
yet?
action
Yes.
to approve it?
They approved the audit.
Okay. So, I just think we register our concern with regard to that and I guess going forward, make sure that the 2024 audit accurately reflects.
Well, there's no footnote. I don't know. To me, it's not a good audit. If I was accepting this as a lender to the city, I would have issues that it wasn't disclosed properly. And if I was loaning them money, I'd have a real hard time saying, well, this is not restricted, so I can do whatever I want to with this
That's
70
right.
million bucks.
Well,
That's right.
And it's really restricted.
It's
And
additional, additional loan repayment proceeds potentially, but it's really not.
It's not.
This all may be related to the loss of the bond issue, and the bonding thing is maybe why it's left there the way it is, because when you move that $50 million out, instead
know.
of, there's $50 million and it looks better than it does. So just like all you guys in banking and stuff say that is exactly right. Well, I've got $50 million hid over here, but it belongs to somebody else. Is basically what it does. But we're showing it's ours, and it's really not. It's already committed by contract. So it needs to be, in my way of thinking, it needs to be cleared up where it's all the same. There's $50 million there, but it's already committed to the people that we have an agreement with.
Well, and it does make me understand, because I've had 2 or 3 different council members say,
but it's-
we're
yes.
sitting on all of this
You
money.
got all this
And I
money, y'all
said,
aren't
but
doing anything
it's
with it.
not available. Well, if they're looking at this, they're thinking,
That's where they would say
it's
it.
available to me.
That's
And they've got lots of places they could spend it.
and they want to.
And they want to, yeah.
We've got lots of requests for it.
Okay, I will definitely communicate that to the auditor and report back on what he says. So statement of activities, this is our P&L for all intents and purposes, and we are down here under ODC. These are our expenses, reported a little bit wonky on the order
And
of these
Our
things.
part is on the next page over.
Yes, so the expenses are here, and the sales tax number is on the next page, right here,
That's us in that far column.
14.5 million. So here's your net profit for the year, 12.4 million, and here's your ending fund balance, 78,574,000 as of 23, which is pretty close to what we reported internally. All these are just footnotes talking about ODC, about what ODC does. This is not ODC.
But the heart of us, isn't it really section 7?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because this is talking
Right here.
about the host city.
Mm-hmm. So here it's talking about the percentage of sales tax that goes to ODC. It talks about your board of directors. This section here talks about the way that your financials are presented. So the financials we just looked at are presented on a government-wide, which just means accrual. So traditional reporting that you would be used to seeing. Same basis of accounting. I'm not going to go through all the comments. Here is where they define some of the line items, but don't necessarily give amounts. here. Restricted fund balance tells you what it is, but it doesn't tell us how much it is. Committed fund balance, assigned, just a difference. This is kind of boilerplate language. I want to get down to your investments.
And if you're doing those schedules by hand, I mean, back in this audit period for 2023, they may not have even had the amount for the restricted and unrestricted.
Well, they do because they ask us for copies of all the agreements. Mm-hmm.
They
I was
should if
trying to
they're
cut
doing
them
an
a little
audit.
slack.
Mhm. Yeah, they sure do. So I wanted to just point out your investments here and highlight that they do look at the credit risk rating of all the investments. So we're held to very high standards for what we can put ODC's money in. This one here I thought was interesting. I hadn't seen that one before. It's a Standard & Poor specific rating. I thought that was interesting. Oh no. What did I do?
Since we don't have one.
What's not rated?
Yeah.
Well, this is in reference to the muni securities and what those are rated at. Mm-hmm.
Not to us,
Not our
but what
bond
we've
rating.
invested.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're investing in people that do have a bond rating.
Yeah.
Hey, you can invest in us. We have a bond rating. Just saying. You can't really, but
We can't either, not the ones you just told us.
yeah. Again, all these are just footnotes, and none of this is ODC anymore. The audit was unmodified, clean. The only thing that the auditors really recommended to us is that we watch more closely when we should accrue the payments. So because we went through this period where the company needed to be paid, in October of 24, because that's when their project was done, but we didn't pay them till 2 years later, we're now having to go back and make sure that we put those payments in the right accounting period. So we did talk about that with the auditor. They gave us some feedback there. But other than that, it was pretty smooth, and we anticipate 24 going even smoother.
The only issues I see with it is the fact that the restricted and non-restricted are not in there, and that the sales tax number of 2 million and something was wrong then too.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps going on and on.
I mean,
think
it's changed a little bit, but it's the same premise.
if nobody has any objection, I recommend that we not approve this and let our minutes reflect those two items that we had concerns about with regard to the audit. If the council's already approved it, I mean, there's nothing really we can do, but we ought to,
Say that we don't.
yeah. Yep,
I agree.
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Then I will bring it back to y'all next time with those answers. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you're gonna send me that September 2024. Okay.
All right. The officer reports Odessa Partnership did meet. I will tell you that the central item that came out of that meeting, in my opinion, I chaired the meeting. I asked a question about that I'd heard some conversation in the community with regard to some taxing entities may or may not be in favor of tax abatements going forward. And I asked for input and got zero. It was silent. I was disappointed in that, but I registered my concern on behalf of ODC that the tax abatements are extremely valuable tool in our toolbox with regard to getting existing businesses to expand here, recruiting new businesses to come here, and all the positive things that go along with that. I think we ought to, I would like to reflect in our minutes that I took the position on behalf of ODC at that point. If anybody has any concerns with regard to tax abatements, I would be happy to hear about it, but in my opinion, until we create enough capital investment and until we create all the jobs we need to be doing tax abatements. Now, they can take different forms with different entities, But you can't take in my opinion, you can't take the position that we need the money. Because if you don't do the project, you don't get the money. So, I think it's important that we go forward and ensure that from ODC's perspective, that tool ought to be continued to be maintained, and that again, those taxing entities can do it any way they want to, but taking the position that we're not gonna do them anymore, in my opinion, is unacceptable from an economic development perspective. Advertising, anything else other than?
We're meeting on a quarterly basis. We're meeting again probably next quarter,
Okay.
next month, and have something. But everything seems to be going real smooth per her report. And
Peggy, anything on compliance?
We didn't meet yet. They're meeting on the 24th, and I'm still going to be gone. So, would somebody else like to go to that meeting? Because if there's 6 projects, we need to have somebody there too, and I won't be.
Any volunteers?
I'll be out of town, or else I
I
would.
won't be back either.
I can go.
I'd like to go, but I'm not gonna be here.
Do
I can go.
Okay, great, Ronnie.
So Kathy, could you go ahead and send me the packet on it, please? The packet of all the ones you're going to go over?
Okay, as soon as we get the information.
Yeah.
And
They're not
And
then,
then
all
just-
in yet.
huh?
They're not all in yet.
But I'm just saying, I'm not going to be here, but if you would send me the packet and then send them to Ronnie, because
Yeah.
he'll be our
Make
representative
sure he gets an
there.
invitation
She
to the
sent me an
meeting.
invitation anyway, by accident, but I get one.
Okay. Investment review, I was, at their last meeting, talked about the fact that I wanted to hold a meeting with Kaylee Thomas and I. I really think it makes more sense to do it in anticipation of our budget meeting. So between now and the budget meeting, I think it'll be more meaningful for us to cover it with an attitude of how is this going to affect our budget? Is there something we need to do? Is there something that we need to advise the board on with regard to the budget that we're going to approve? So I'll set that meeting. All right, number 8 item, consider request for grant funds supporting the construction of the proposed county parking garage. Judge Fawcett.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to begin with by speaking on the economic development aspect that you're talking about with property tax abatements. We had it on our agenda on Tuesday to renew our policies and procedures, or 2-year renewals that would have expired today. And they were tabled the previous commissioner's court because there was some consternation among the court. And fortunately it passed, but only by a 3-2 margin. And so perhaps this overall abatement discussion needs to be discussed in our community and why these things matter. Perhaps one of the largest is if you're a new business looking at coming to the Permian Basin and you have apples to apples of Midland versus Odessa, the county tax rate in Midland is going to be lowered probably down to 13 cents. Ours is going to be at 45 cents this upcoming year. So without abatements, if you have the same infrastructure, same water, same utilities, same everything else, without abatements, you're not going to be able to compete. And so these are some of the things that we're talking about. Now there's philosophical aspects of the solar and wind and some of these things, but I explained to the commissioner's court that some of these solar projects are behind the meter projects that are part of the portfolio requirements for some of these large scale hyperscalers and everything else to have included for financing. And so if you're talking an $8 billion, $10 billion project that needs a $200 million solar project, bringing them here is advantageous for the overall picture and not looking at these things in a silo. So I appreciate Mr. Boutin. He and I have spoken about this. I think it's time we have a little bit of an economic development 101 among our elected officials in our community to understand the advantages that tax abatements do provide. It is not handing out free money by any means. It is competitive marketing. Now let's get to the parking garage. I come to you with this request based on the fact that we are looking at an unprecedented and tremendous project in downtown Odessa. We're looking at a total investment of over or close to $300 million when you account for the courthouse, the future Ector County Library, the parking garage, and the green space that's coming downtown. With that investment, the county has taken on all of these costs. We have done that. But the library is going to be partly funded out of some private funds and some donations as well. But the city is not participating, directly. This board has a unique opportunity with this certain bucket of funding with sales tax through ODC funds to participate and to help the overall tax equation for our residents. And so there is precedent of this board of ODC allocating funds for such a project. So if you have any questions on whether or not ODC can fund a parking garage, you need to look no further than the Odessa Marriott parking garage. That was, I believe, entirely funded from the ODC board. Now our parking garage is going to have 500 spaces. Some of those spaces will be dedicated to Ector County employees during the work week, during normal business hours. And some will be secured for some of our elected officials and our judges. But for the most part, will be open to the public. So as we change the downtown vector of our community and have many downtown events, which will bring in additional hotel occupancy tax dollars and additional sales tax dollars, this would be a good strategic investment on behalf of the Odessa Development Corporation, exactly in line with what your charter is. It's one that we think is a great project that bringing a parking garage is necessary in all designs and any urban planning. Parking garages are necessary. Utilizing your limited space in a downtown area for surface parking makes no sense. We had an alternate plan that was posed that did not account for a parking garage. And while folks are concerned about the cost of these, the benefit they have to a community is tremendous. And so that's essentially my spiel, is that this is the city's way of participating. Now, the city can also help. We've presented that to City Council several weeks back in a work session about lessening the permit requirements, and we're working through that with legal and how we ensure that we can keep this project on schedule and under budget as anticipated. There's a lot of civil engineering that's going to go into it, and so the City Council is taking those, doing their part on that aspect. City management is doing that on their aspect, in that aspect. And then I come to y'all. I'm a big guy on partnerships and trying to work with all entities available and leverage funding the best way we can. And I think that this is a good leverage of funding.
Total dollars that you're gonna spend on each one of those components?
Yes, so the courthouse overall build is $250 million. The courthouse itself is about $200 million, and then the rest of it, the $50 million, is in soft costs, which does include the parking garage, the engineering, the architectural, and the civil engineering as well, so $250 million there. And then the Ector County Library ranges between $45 to $60 million. The actual design is calling for $45 million. We're carrying about a 30% contingency, which raises that an additional $15 million to an overall dollar amount of $60 million. So between the $250 million and the $60 million, we're looking at $310 on the north end for the overall investment. And that includes, again, the green space as well, which we don't think will be a major cost. We plan on going pretty open there, not over architecting or over engineering anything. That way it's really open to as many events as possible. And we're going to partner with the City of Odessa Parks and Recreation Department to where the events that they schedule and they plan, we want to make sure that this green space reflects that. And again, the library will be looking north out over the green space, which is where our current courthouse is located. And the library is going to be a library and resource center. It's going to be open for nonprofits, and a lot of great events are going to be housed there. And so we're really looking at a total transformation of downtown Odessa. And the parking garage is going to be able to service all of these events.
And how much do you think on the library? Not the library, I know the library.
Yes.
On the parking garage, you lumped it into that?
Yes, $20 million.
How much?
20. And I think it's
20 million.
500
something maybe.
Yes, and we've filled out the application and sent it on over to Kathy for compliance to review. Again, it was a little bit different. We're not a new business coming in, and it's hard to say that we are going to be adding jobs with it. Now, what we can say, and in the application I did mention, is that with the new courthouse we include FF&E, all of the MEP as well. And so we will be purchasing all of those items and as much as we can in Odessa with local vendors. And so there will be local construction, local materials. Now, the parking garage itself is not going to have a bunch of furniture by any means. And so that was a unique part in the application of I'm requesting funding for the parking garage, but I lumped it all in the overall project again because I'm not asking ODC to fund the courthouse by any means. We took that on as a court via our certificates. But there will be overall purchasing in Ector County and in Odessa for the total build out of the total project of a $300 million project.
And that's on the compliance agenda for the 24th, is it?
We had put the agenda together, but yeah, it's gonna be on there. And he submitted the deal 2 days ago, I believe,
Okay.
or excuse me, I say 2, it might have been
So,
last week.
I heard, is the post office gonna be in the garage?
The post office is going to be in the first floor of the parking garage, correct?
Okay. So y'all gonna lease that to the federal government?
Yes, so they will continue with their lease. That was one of the challenges that we face, is that they have had the exact same lease essentially since 1970, and so their price per square foot is quite in their benefit, but it is something that that was the only way we'd be able to continue. And so they have a 15 years remaining on the lease with a 5-year option. Now, if they were to enact that option, that would be at a market rate. And so we're looking at that build out is between $5 and $6 million for the actual post office aspect of it. We'll recover about $2 million of that over the 15 years. We may recover some more if they go for the optional several years. If not, that 40,000 square foot of space will then become future county space or future retail space. And in fact, we're going to be building them 24-foot tall ceilings. And that way, if we should choose, we could put a floor in between there, have 2 sets of 12-foot tall floors, and that would be 80,000 square feet of future space for county operations or, again, for leasing options.
So the $20 million for the parking garage includes about $5 million for the build-out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
So can you count that as employees of the post office as employee retainage in our matrix?
Maybe.
I would assume so. That was how we were able to keep them downtown. We heard from the community that they wanted to stay downtown. I heard from their union representative that they wanted to stay downtown.
Where are they gonna, is there another place that they're gonna park all those mail trucks and all that stuff?
So
Do we know that yet?
yes, so we're working on.
'Cause that's a lot of employees.
Yes, so they will have employee parking designated in the parking lot. And then their vehicle maintenance facility, we have preliminary designs that we may put it in that first floor as well. We are also looking at a separate location that perhaps by the next commissioner's court, we could then move that vehicle maintenance facility off-site. Right now, that actual build-out would be approximately $600,000 if we can find a better site, which we think we can, for a decent enough price point. To where they could have that vehicle maintenance operation off-site, then that would be the best case scenario for us, because while we can put up some walls to kind of hide it, if you're up there in the courthouse on a high level or in the Marriott and you look out, you may be able to see some of their vehicles that they have to essentially have in their junkyard to an extent. And so we are working still on that, and we're quite close to that.
Do you know offhand how many parking spots would be allocated to the post office?
48?
48? To employees or?
That's 48 mail trucks, and that's their operational number. So you would have those plus 48 spots for the actual employees.
Does that come out of the 500?
Yes,
Yes,
that'll be
that'll
included.
be
So
allocated.
96 of the 500. Yes.
And how many allocated to county employees?
I
Monday
believe,
through Friday, 8 to 5.
yeah, I think approximately 150 is what we kind of house out of the courthouse.
That would be during the day, during a full business day. I think
But
that
that's 150 not available to somebody to come down here to go shopping.
Yes, sir. With one exception, like the only part that I think would be exclusionary otherwise would be your high security entrance for your electeds.
So that'll be a certain area that'll be 24 elected officials. Or
Now, where are the jurors gonna park? Because that's always been a problem.
they will park in there.
In the garage?
Yes, sir.
And there'll be enough that we won't see
Absolutely.
this, people going all
yes.
over town trying to find a place?
Correct. And that was one of the main reasons for the parking garage, was juror
Just making
parking.
sure
We
it's
have,
big enough. If you're gonna do it,
And I
we're
need
gonna
to
turn around and have the
clarify
same
one
problem we
thing.
have.
One of the 48s, the mail trucks will not be taking up part of the 500 spaces. The mail trucks are a whole different deal. They're not counted in the 500 spaces. So the
Where do the mail trucks park?
Well, they'll be in the parking garage, but that's not part of the 500 spaces count.
Oh, okay.
The bottom floor is basically going to be set up very similar to what you see when you see the big post office now.
Is this a, like a toll parking garage?
No, we will not be charging.
Okay.
How tall is the whole complete facility gonna be? How much is parking, how much is building?
Of the parking garage?
Yeah, I mean, is it gonna be separate, or is it, or, I hear different stories, I've never seen a complete drawing or draft of the whole facility, so.
Of the parking garage facility itself?
Is the garage gonna be separate, or is the courthouse gonna be built on top of the garage?
No, the parking garage is going to be built essentially east of where the current post office is. The courthouse will be built where the current post office is.
Okay, it's
So
not-
there'll be
it's
two
gonna
separate
building,
facilities.
though. It's not gonna be
But
stacked
the
on top of
post
each other.
office will be on the bottom floor, and you'll park above it.
Right.
Correct.
The parking is stacked on top of the post
Right.
office, not on top
But
of
in some
the.
buildings are, a couple in San Antonio, everything is parking, and then the rest of the facilities on top of the actual parking garage.
No, we will not be building the courthouse on top of the
Okay,
parking
that was
garage.
a question.
No,
Okay.
we will not.
It's like the jury and.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them.
And we had looked at going underground, such as the state capitol. I had a parking spot there when I worked at the Capitol. There was some underground parking there where that's not.
The Caliche, I mean,
that-
trying to go down at the Marriott
That-
was a nightmare.
Yeah, that's not going downward is not the option.
So how many jury spots do we need?
We have not devised whether or not we'll have dedicated jury parking or whether it'll just be public parking overall, kind of how at the hospital currently they have the doctor designated
Right.
parking, nursing, and then the rest is just everybody. We would not need more than 100 for a large jury pool. And we have yet to broach whether or not we're going to strictly itemize that out and have them on a specific level, because jury calls are, very relatively rare.
A couple of times a month.
Yeah.
And vary on size and all that.
Yeah, so we got to be careful if we were to designate it that, unless we'd have some wayfinding in there with some arrows and saying now it's open, now it's
Right.
not. So
Right. Well, the, most of this that you've talked about are things that are going to happen during the day. So all the events that are being planned and the whole activation of downtown, it sounds like at night most of that will be available.
Yes,
Or after 5 o'clock.
After 5 o'clock, I imagine there may be a court reporter, usually in our 446th, which has our family court, as you well know. Those dockets go quite long, and that's actually why we have a specific court reporter parking out there, because they have to walk out to their cars at night. That's a severe concern of mine. But rarely do we have after 5 o'clock operations for any courthouse personnel. You see by 5:30 the downtown presence is vacated for the most part. So most employees are gone. Very rarely do we have after 5 o'clock. And again, the only one is typically the 446, or if there is some type of trial in which the jurors are still in deliberation and they stay. And again, that is going to be probably a total of 15 to 20, including staff and jurors.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Weekends and nights, it'll be 500 spaces ready to go.
So what's your time frame on getting all this built now that you've got the post office figured out?
Demolition is going to begin in October, and then the demolition will probably take longer than the actual going vertical of the parking garage. It's precast, and so that should be relatively a quick turnaround. So by end of Q1, we should have a functioning parking garage there prepared. Our goal then is to move the post office over to that first floor and then begin the demolition of the post office site.
Did you say, and I may have missed it in your presentation, how much you were asking from the city or ODC's partnership in that 20 million?
The full 20 million.
Okay.
He's not bashful.
I am not bashful. That's how we've been able to pull off some of these things.
Never has
When you look at an overall project cost of over $300 million, less than a 10%, I think it was fair. And again, that was to make it easy. I could have gone through and identified there's some of the civil engineering work, some of these other things that you can do that are available to the type of ODC Corporation A that y'all are. And rather than going through that and trying to nickel and dime our way through to find legal ways for ODC to use funds, I figured we'd go at all of it in one bucket on a parking garage that has precedent here locally, that is outlined in statute that y'all can do, and ask for that full amount. And that's the best way to utilize these funds.
And I know the county's committed some. Are there any private partners committing anything to this as well?
Not on the courthouse or on anything else. Exclusively on the library, and that one is going to be a split between us and them, and it's an exciting project, and we look forward to seeing the nonprofit sector and some of the private donors really turn out.
So this has to go through compliance, and they got to tell us how it fits our matrix before we vote on it, right?
Yeah, I hate to miss that meeting because this isn't really going to fit a matrix. I mean, this is going to be one of those things that are going to take some thought.
Well, and I think it should be noted that I think the value of this project going to compliance to get additional input. You know, you think about the precedent with regard to the Marriott Convention Center parking lot that was supported, the infrastructure and facade grants that we support for revitalization of downtown. I think trying to get your head wrapped around, you know, what makes sense, what kind of return with regard to revitalization of downtown, you know, jobs that are going to be retained and whatnot. I think it's just going to take a lot of thought. And I think, you know, from my perspective at least, getting the input from the compliance committee I think is going to be very valuable, because I think it's a challenging decision with regard to, I'm not sure it's challenging with regard to should we support it. It's challenging with regard to at what level.
At what level? Yeah. And how do you sell it?
I mean, let's
And
be honest.
Brian-
This wasn't a popular decision to do this courthouse, you know, issue this debt without the voters. You know, I mean, I'm speaking from just the everyday guy. Number one thing I heard was, y'all overstepped your bounds. Do we want to be involved with that? You know, a lot of decisions.
Well, you know, the number one thing is the best way to kill any project, good or bad, is to form a committee. And so I understand what you're dealing with.
Yep.
Being almost a lifelong resident here in West Texas, I will say this: I don't, you know, I think all construction is ridiculously overpriced. It doesn't matter whether it's private or in county, but it's something that needs to be done. And there will be a difference of opinion probably in this whole board of who to do what or what to do. But I agree it needs to be done. It's just like everybody says, to the degree, what can we help, what can we do to get it done? Because it's a long time coming. And, it is. You know, I got the jail people out of it. That helped a lot to quit flooding the records.
But
Yeah.
the damage had already been done
Yeah,
by
that's what I
that
mean,
time
it's
to our infrastructure, and we like to remind folks it is a 1938
Yeah,
building.
you know, like everybody says about our roads, and the city council says this all the time. We keep kicking the can down the road. Well, I live over off 52nd, and I drive down Oilfield Lease roads that are in better shape than 52nd is. And that was prior thought, and then I'll shut up. But that was no thought to when they did all that work on the loop that everybody was going to come up 52nd and destroy it in the 2 years they worked on the loop. And so, you know, it is. We have to put thought to everything we do, and by all means, we should be considering bettering the city. You know, the things we can do to better, and that will better the city.
Yeah.
It absolutely
Well,
will.
I would like to add that, well, first off, I'm in favor of the whole thing, because I think that to use the oath's words on why did you build the Marriott is because Odessa deserves it. And so I believe that this is one of the most exciting things that has happened in this town since I've been here. in terms of what the people are gonna enjoy, this whole downtown thing. And the courthouse, in my opinion, and I'm probably biased, but my daughter's there all the time, it's unhealthy. I mean, there's mold, there's all kinds of things there. I mean, it's unhealthy. It's irresponsible, I think, for so many people to even be working there. That being said, I think that one thing you need to realize is that if and to the extent that ODC participates in this, that is city money. You know, when you said the city hasn't really done anything, I mean, this would be giving the city, in my opinion, credit because,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it will be a contribution as far as the city endorsing it too, because they're going to ultimately approve it,
Yes.
whatever we suggest. So,
Yep.
just,
This was the way that they could, because otherwise it didn't.
Sit down there, hotel.
This is the way they can.
I do, but it's been a while. It was.
Well, compliance ought to have that information for sure.
I've got all the stuff on it. I'm thinking, we're trying to think what the other parking garage was. I thought I'd never forget all those numbers, but
The total amount, I think it was 8,
I was going to say it
and
was
again,
right
that was
at
in
9.
2016 dollars.
Yeah.
And
And
we've
it's a
seen
lot
that.
less spots too. It's like
Yeah.
300, isn't it?
I believe so.
300, and I think it was right at 9 million.
Yeah.
Thank you for your leadership in this and trying to push this forward and trying to push the city and county and all the residents, make it a better quality of life. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other
Any
questions?
other questions, comments?
I have one that's very unprofessional, but us seeing each other every Friday, maybe if you bring Friday up here and start dancing, that'll help things.
He's at our drop off at Reagan Elementary. I drop my girls off every morning. That's our alone time, and I do play a Friday song, and I do a dance for my daughter.
That's why I led with the unprofessional part.
I am unashamed of it. Yep.
If you can't dance with your kids, you can't dance.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank y'all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9, our next meeting, and I hope everybody will be able to attend. That's our budget, and one of the critical pieces in that, and I've talked about this before, is that general development plan is that you know, I know it's been, last year's has been provided to you. We typically tweak that in some cases more some years than others. I've already made some notes on it with some things that I think we ought to enter in there or consider and whatnot, and I hope everyone will have a chance to look at that. But then our budget, you know, preparing our budget, really that's our financial strategy, as we all know, going forward to try to do what we can to promote economic development. So hopefully everybody is going to be able to be there. And then we have our next regular meeting, which will be Thursday, August 14th at 3. So hopefully we'll all be ready to meet.
I promise on our budget, we're going to have more than 150,000 budgeted for interest income. Every time I see that, I just go on $70 million.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.